Hello, and welcome to POMA Does, a podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We provide a voice for osteopathic medicine and share insights on issues important to osteopathic physicians, residents, and students, as well as those who embrace the osteopathic philosophy. POMA's mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine for our patients, our members, and the communities we serve. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the POMA Does podcast. My name is Angie Zawissa, DO, and I am currently the new Vice President for the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. Given that we just elected some new officers, and we also just finished up our strategic plan for the 2024 to 2027 years, we thought we would talk with you guys tonight about what our hopes and dreams are, so to speak, for the next 3 years. So with me today, I have Dr. George Walters, who is the president-elect for POMA, and he is chair of the advocacy pillar. I have immediate past president, Dr. John Collada, who is chair of the community pillar. Current president, Dr. Bill Swallow, who is chair of the education pillar. And then myself, I am chair of the communications pillar. So Dr. Walters, why don't you start and give us a little bit of insight and overview into the advocacy pillar over the next few years and what you guys hope to accomplish?
Well, advocacy influence is primarily tasked with supporting an environment that supports patient-centered care that can be interpreted as the political aspects of POMA. Basically, we oversight three committees: the Government Affairs Committee, POMPAC, and the Public Policy Committee. As you know, or if you've listened to either the newsletters or any of the committee meetings, the GAC is extremely active. They monitor many of the goings on in Harrisburg. And amongst the other committees, they provide POMA with a path forward for things that we should fight, things that we shouldn't fight, things that we're not quite sure of yet. Concerning the strategic plan, the third one, the high priority targets will primarily quality podcasts, which fortunately have been well taken care of by Dr. Monaco, Dr. Joe Zawissa, and Brenda Dill. They turn out a very good podcast every 2 weeks. If you haven't had a chance, you should hear them. If you have had a chance, go back. They're definitely worth the effort. The other goal, or it's one of the other goals, is to note legislative priorities and legislative targets, politicians, and then try to influence them or bring them together with the local districts or local members who have contact with them. And then finally, increasing student advocacy. The students are extremely willing, but could use a bit of definition in where they head. Hopefully this year we'll be providing that. In summary, or to end it, the primary effort is to influence in a positive way political discourse in Harrisburg and Washington towards osteopathic physicians, and hopefully this year increase our communication with the local districts and with the local members. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Walters. Dr. Collada, you have now been chair or champion for the community pillar for, this will be your fourth year now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the pillar has accomplished over the last few years and what you hope to accomplish, well, in the remaining year that you have left, plus beyond?
Thanks, Angie. I'm fortunate to be the champion of the community pillar again this year. And the community pillar really tries to use POMA's reach and POMA's energy to bring osteopathic physicians together in the state. We've tried over the last several years to really touch on physicians in training up through physicians in practice, the physicians in their later years. And we've done a lot of different things to accomplish that, from engaging the postgraduate folks to doing some things with medical students to doing even podcasts and webinars with regard to recent retirees and how to retire gracefully and some tips on that using our podcast series and our digital format. We really try to touch POMA, our members, in a very personal way, in a way that maybe brings people together that we're kind of losing now over time. We're so engaged now with charting and patient care and our activities day to day that we sort of lose the personal touch that brings us together as osteopathic physicians. And the community pillar tries to achieve that. We're organized with several committees and councils: the membership committee, the committee on physician wellness, the mentor committee, the task force on military and veteran physicians, and the district leadership council. The district leadership council is comprised of the district chairs of the various districts across Pennsylvania. And I've been very, very pleased to see how our district chairs have really fed on each other's energy and brought lots of ideas back and forth across the state. So what works with one district might work for the next. What isn't so hot for one district might not be so hot for others. And we meet more or less monthly and discuss ways to get engaged and to engage people at the district level, which is really where we all live and work and practice. So it's been really great. District Leadership Council has been an increasingly prominent part of our activities in the community pillar. With regard to the strategic plan, we really want to try to expand what we're doing and target certain efforts over the next several years. We've identified some things as a board. We really feel like we might be able to connect doctors to career opportunities in the state and doing things like creating a job board or having job fairs at some of our events. We'd like to do some leadership development. We've done that by sending some people to AOA leadership things. We've sent some of our leaders away. Dr. Swallow and I were fortunate to do the ASAE seminar in Louisville, Kentucky last year. That was really great. So we hope to develop leadership and maybe bring some of those efforts at the various districts so we can maybe bring a topic or two through the District Leadership Council to our various positions and grow our leaders that way and really become better doctors within our own practices. We thought about maybe bringing some practice management topics to our conferences, and I think that would be a really great way to really bring some more value that POMA can bring to our members. We will expand on our wellness events. We've had wellness walks now at our various conferences. We had an actual chair massage event where you could sign up and get a chair massage at Kalahari, which was kind of okay. I've not very often had a massage where I fell asleep in a chair, but I was real close. So that was really great. One way to relax for 10 or 15 minutes at the clinical assembly. We're hoping to really grow our membership. And I think that's one thing that's super important. Growing our membership, bringing increasing awareness of the value of POMA membership to our physicians and our prospects across the state. So we hope to develop some materials and some targeted recruitment efforts in that regard. And that'll be done hopefully through the membership committee. But as I think we all have learned that our pillars cross over with each other. So we'll use the podcasts to manage that. And we'll make sure that the influence pillar understands that we need to look out for our physicians through what's going on in Harrisburg and then communicating that in the best way we can through our podcasts, our publications, and then through our education pillar, which is what we do best. So the community pillar is quite active and I think quite important because I think it fills a void that's really there now in our more and more busy world to get POs together across the state.
Absolutely, John. I really think you hit the nail on the head. You know, we divided our strategic plan many years ago into these 4 pillars that we're all champions of. However, you know, the pillars really do all work together to accomplish POMA's goals. As champion for the communications pillar, I only have 2 committees under my purview, the Committee on Digital Engagement and the Publications Committee. But really, you know, those 2 committees are responsible for much of the information being disseminated about POMA, what we stand for, what we do, and where we're going over the next few years. So this is actually going to be our 58th podcast episode. If I'm recalling correctly, the average lifespan of a podcast series is less than 30 episodes, I believe. So the average lifespan of a podcast is less than a year. So we started this podcast series 2 years ago, I believe now, and we're on our 58th episode, and our open rate is just continuing to grow every single time. So we'll continue to use, you know, information from the community pillar and the different communities there, as well as the advocacy and influence pillar and the political action committee to develop podcast episodes. And also one of the things that we are striving to do is at least offer 1 episode per quarter that is actually CME. As I'm sure Dr. Swallow will talk about, credit our own CME. And so we are able to develop podcast episodes that count for credits. One of the things that we are really hoping to revamp over the next few years is our publication. Dr. Mark Ibrahim was chair of the publishing committee for a long time, and he had a fantastic vision to redo the journal, make it more relevant, make it more beneficial to all the POMA members. And unfortunately, he passed away. So there's a new chair of the publications committee who will be building on that vision from Dr. Ibrahim and working to redo the journal, provide a resource for residents to do their quality activities, and go from there. We also hope to update the POMA website to make things a little bit easier to find and not only promote POMA to osteopathic physicians within the state of Pennsylvania, but also to the public and the community and the people and the patients that we serve. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done under the communications pillar over the next few years. And we're very much looking forward to being the best that we can be in terms of that. So certainly last but not least is Dr. Swallow, our current president for POMA and the champion for the education pillar. So Dr. Swallow, what is the education pillar hoping to accomplish over the next few years?
Thanks, Angie. Over the next few years is a matter of enhancing what we're already doing in a superior fashion. The assembly is subdivided, as you're all aware, into two committees, one more the convention side, which will be again chaired by Tony DeMarco, and his team really has carried over from previous years to this coming year. There'll be a little switch in the education side of it. Mike Venditto will chair it, and Ken Veit will be co-chair. Ken has chaired it for numerous years, and if you were to the last assembly, are well aware of Mike's skills and talents, and it gives Ken a break, which he so deserves when you really consider his involvement with PCOM. And I'm sure Mike will do an excellent job, as he did for the assembly just a few weeks ago. The lectures were excellent, and right now I'm going through some of them virtually, and the content was wonderful. And actually, some of the 30-minute lectures are very interesting, and when they're combined with the same lecturer, provide some consistency or continuity to the lectures. So they're high class, and I urge everybody out there listening to this that they really consider coming to the next assembly in May. I think it's May 7 to 10 in 2025, and I'm sure you will not be disappointed whatsoever. Other committees under the education pillar include the GME Graduate Medical Education, which directs their efforts more towards the residents. And the residents in the Commonwealth, it's an interesting situation. PCOM, for example, has 12 residencies that are all non-funded, meaning the college pays for their compensation because PCOM doesn't have a hospital. So they utilize hospital services and the trainers in other hospitals, but then the hospitals cannot get the refunded from CMS to compensate them. So PCOM does that. And that leads me to consider a task force, which is kind of a pet for me. And that's a task force on the financial support of residents and students. Midst of forming that now, I believe Dr. George Walters has volunteered to chair that, and I appreciate his coming forward on that very much. But we've got to put that together and see what we can do on a larger scale than what we are doing now. We're already supporting them, and we're already supporting through AP. They're taking the DO board upon completion of their family medicine residency, but we need to do better. And likewise, that translates to the students too. I'm not sure you all are aware, but both LECOM and PCOM will be having tuition increases this coming fall, the percentages of which escape me at the present time. But needless to say, tuition keeps going up, and both colleges, it's not a frivolous matter that these colleges need to do that. When you tour the campuses, you see how things have changed. And I know they've changed considerably since I went to PCOM and dinosaurs walk the face of the earth. But you see, it's expensive. For example, mental health services on the medical school campuses is an enormous expense, but so majorly needed by the students that they have to do it. I mean, students today are feeling the stressors just from COVID alone, but it extends into the change of the curriculum. So they need this counseling, and some even take gap years or leaves of absence now, I found out, and enables them to kind of cope through those 4 years of medical school so they can be well prepared for entry into the residency. A couple of other pet projects to coincide or dovetail with the strategic plan for the education pillar is, well, let me lead by a story. Our oldest granddaughter started her undergraduate career at Frostburg. She received a softball scholarship, went down there her freshman year, didn't get along with the coach, so she ended up leaving Frostburg, transferring to Radford in Virginia, and was asked to join the track team. She threw hammer and shot, if you can believe that, for a 5'2", but she did it, and she did it very well. But beyond that, she graduated summa cum laude. She worked part-time at a hospital doing venipunctures, and she also did some research on stress and the cortisol and adrenaline responses to the stress. Be that as it may, when she was doing her venipunctures, she interacted with some residents and some medical students, all of which were allopathic, and she was told point blank, sorry, but if you want to be a DO, you're never going to get to where you want to get to as far as a residency and a career. And that hurt. I mean, that's like a stake in the back. I, in turn, think about is how we can establish a task force to deal with educating or bringing osteopathic medicine to the undergraduate level and to even to the high school level. I don't think we can begin too soon in a student's career, especially if they're oriented towards medicine, and get these young men and these young women oriented into what osteopathic medicine really is, what we do as a patient in holistic fashion, and utilize the districts and the district chair in bringing that facet of educating the young people into what the osteopathic medicine is, and why it's one of the finest careers I think one could ever choose. As far as the GME, another task force I'd like to establish is one in which we take OMM out to the residencies. Now, there are various ways to do that, and if you have a DO track and enough in an ACGME residency, you have to have some OMM, and the task force will involve all three campuses, and whether it's recruiting faculty or whether it's recruiting practicing physicians, but I want to bring OMM to the residencies and provide them with meaningful CME in OMT to basically maintain the certification as a DO track, but then also keep their skill set elevated as they complete their residencies and go into their practice. Lastly, one little pet project, it really doesn't have anything to do with the pillars. It has more, well, it does to community. I would really like to establish an emergency fund to our DO members and perhaps extending it to any osteopathic physician in the Commonwealth. But as you all see, especially the last couple of weeks even, we've experienced major storms. Winters are unbearable sometimes, and sometimes, especially with flooding in the Commonwealth, impacts communities to the point where it may impact our members and their ability to practice osteopathic medicine. So if we establish a fund that they can draw upon, whether it be an outright grant or whether it be a no-interest loan or what have you, that's for the task force to work for, or the board perhaps, but establish this fund so that in the event of an occurrence such as this, a member can submit to POMA for some funding so that can keep them on their feet, keep them perhaps working, or maybe restore the integrity of their offices or respective offices or what have you. So those are the few things that have gone through my mind, for the past few months. I know we can do it. I know we have the resources. It's just a matter of organizing it and getting people going on that sort of thing. But the education pillar is crucial to the success of POMA, and it is an example of what state affiliate can provide its membership in high quality CME from one year to the next. Besides the other additional programs, Angie, that you mentioned as far as the podcast, we do assist District 8 in their winter CME, and that's always been a success for a long time. And we do assist POFPS in their August get-together. And again, with the interaction between the district as well as POFPS, you can actually obtain sufficient CMEs that you don't have to leave the state to get enough to keep your specialty as well as keep your license. I guess that, in a pretty good nutshell, is what I have here, Angie.
Just a highlight of many of the fantastic things that POMA does, and probably some of the many reasons why we were the affiliate of the year in 2022, I believe it was. So we are officially the award-winning Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association, something that we're all very proud of. So I think that's fantastic insight into what we hope to accomplish over the next few years with the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We have accomplished some fantastic things. My completely unbiased opinion, of course. We've accomplished some fantastic things over the last several years, and just a little snippet of what we hope to accomplish in the next 3 before our next strategic plan rolls out.
Any members who are listening to this podcast, it's not too late to participate in the committee. It's not too late to participate in anything. Please give that consideration. We're just a phone call away. Your headquarters, any of us, are more than willing to accept your interest and have you apply that interest and function.
And it really is the best value in the profession. For just over $1 a day, the benefits are immense. And you're right, Bill. I've been listening to the virtual clinical assembly lectures, and they've been excellent. They're really great.
I was recently at a district meeting. One of our district members attended both the ACOFP and our clinical assembly at Kalahari earlier this month, and she was very emphatic about the fact that the POMA education blew the ACOFP out of the water. That was a direct quote.
Agreed. I did the same observation. Absolutely.
That came independently, because I think you said that, Bill. And really, we should be proud of the efforts, not only of our committee in getting it together, but our members who are lecturers. Really fantastic job. And the team did a wonderful job getting it together. But yeah, I kind of smile when I listen, because I learned something with everyone, something new, some twist. They're really excellent.
Absolutely.
And let me just put in one more plug, Angie, if I may.
Absolutely.
That's a plug for our leadership at headquarters as well as the staff. They work so well at the assembly. both there and in Harrisburg, but especially the assembly. That's one big team effort, and it works as an all-star team.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because I thought about this in my head and then failed to mention it, that a lot of our direction over the last several years was with our CEO, Miss Diana Ewert, at the helm, and she will be retiring at the end of June. And our new CEO, Mr. Andy Sandusky, who is currently the Executive Vice President and also the Director for the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Family Physicians Society, will be taking over as CEO for POMA. So we are very much looking forward to, all the changes. I think they're exciting changes where POMA heads in the next 3 years. Thank you for listening. And if you need anything at all from POMA, that's POMA@POMA.org. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of POMA Does. Be sure to subscribe to POMA Does wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends and colleagues to tune in. Learn more about osteopathic medicine and POMA on our webpage, www.poma.org, and join the conversation on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Or email us at poma@poma.org. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for another edition of POMA Does.